This is my pastor. I submit to that. But you cannot tell us that it's God-given for people to steal votes and say they have won. Well, it was a clear message to the Deputy President that the day of parting ways has come. The longer it stays in that particular office, is likely to face frustration to the extent that by the time he makes that decision, it will be too late to attract any crowd that will assist him make political sense out of his vision. To any ordinary citizen, you don't need to be discerning political analyst. You don't need to be a psychologist. The two are parted ways.
The writing is on the wall.
Very loud.
What a privilege, what an honor to have you on Richard Mwanje Exclusive, the only point of call on matters, governance and political analysis here in Kenya and across the region, hosted by yours truly, son of the soil, Richard Mwanje. Indeed, a privilege it is to have you with us. And with me to dissect on the day's conversation is none other than one-time Agriculture Minister Kipruto Arap Kirwa. He later on transitioned to become Kenya's special IGAD envoy to Somalia. Today, he sits on this desk as a renowned governance expert and as a seasoned politician. Welcome on board, sir.
Thank you. It's my privilege, Richard.
So many accolades to your name, embedded to your name. How does that make you feel?
Just say former MP. That's enough.
Not even Minister of Agriculture?
Yeah, well, that was for 5 years. And also another 2.5 years as assistant minister before Mr. Moi parted ways with me and sacked me. But of course, I remained to fight. And he sacked me from 60th floor. I came back as a minister at 7th floor. So it was a blessing in disguise. Perhaps because Kano lost 2002 general election and I retained myself in Kano, possibly I would have lost with Kano in the 2002 elections. So President Moi was a blessing in disguise to sack me as assistant minister.
It never made you a bitter man in life?
No, no, no. President Moi, I worked with him for 15 years. Some of it was sort of checkered in the sense that some days he would be best of my friends, but he was very useful around election time. He took elections personally. Once you win as a candidate for his party, he would make sure that if it's resources, if it is guidance in terms of information, he will deliver to you personally.
Very well.
And I think that is something I still respect him about. Yeah.
And did you feel disrespected when he nicknamed you Makoha, all thanks to your close relationship with the Luya community, because he felt you were betraying the Kalenjin community then?
Yeah. Well, he came, actually he said that in my constituency, a place called Kege. And he did not call me directly. He said, look at this young boy. Now he has gone astray. And I'm told Luyas have given him the name Makoha.
A lost sheep.
A lost sheep. So it became a national conversation, and it gave me another election time. I think it made me get re-elected because the Luyas felt that I was one of them, and other communities also. You know, Cherangani is a cosmopolitan constituency. If you stick to your tribe, you cannot win an election. You must get across community.
You leveraged on the diversity of the day.
Yes, you leverage on the diversity, and you must respect each and every community. Even those who are like 1,000 or 2,000 people, they make a difference. In the same constituency, for your information, in the election of 1988, the winner beat the person who was second to him by a margin of 7 votes.
Only?
1, 2, 3, 4, 7. 7 votes. So at times, every vote counts, and every individual matters in this country.
Very well.
Even one vote. Remember here, the Dr. Muriuki in Bahati constituency won with a margin of 5 votes. And somebody, Barshil, in one of the constituencies in Northern Frontier, he won with a difference of 2 votes. So I want to advise those who are entering political scene that every vote is as important as the rest.
Now that you're talking about every vote counting and translating into some sense of impact, we have seen in the recently concluded South African general elections, Economic Freedom Fighters Party, led by Julius Malema, well, got an unexpected result. Many thought it will maybe take the day or at least garner a huge chunk of the votes. For Julius Malema, whom many people embraced, in his campaign trails, we saw mammoth crowds therein, and even he gathered support outside South Africa. Many of his supporters even been domiciled in East Africa. Let me understand, as a seasoned politician, how comes the mammoth crowds, the massive support outside South Africa and in South Africa, never translated into the actual vote on the material day? How come?
When you see a large crowd, some may be coming to see you, others may be coming to hear your funny stories.
Funny stories?
Funny stories. And some are coming to just be entertained. But to translate votes translate the crowds into tangible votes is something that needs a bit of trust. Perhaps Malema needs to build himself not as a firebrand that runs the risk of tearing apart the country, for people to trust him. The main problem in politics is lack of trust. When people don't trust you, they will listen to you, they will clap for you, but when it reaches the day of voting, they vote for somebody they trust.
It is not enough to have a combative tone like that of Malema?
No, it is not enough. You need to translate. You see, to be a rabble rosa does not translate you into a leader. Leadership is the capacity to embrace diversity and also to work along with everybody, especially in a country like South Africa, where it has so many communities. Malema does not represent a majority of them. Yeah, but he's a good rabble rouser. Yeah.
A good rabble rouser.
Yeah.
Very well. Advancing, now getting straight into today's conversation, let's begin the recently concluded Madaraka Day celebrations and what came out of it in terms of politics. We saw President William Ruto openly contradict his deputy Rigathi Gachagua by directing members of parliament to traverse the country in conduct of their parliamentary mandate. And also, he actually fired warning shots to those politicians who are whipping up ethnic emotions and talking about regional unity instead of national unity and all that. Do you think that that statement by President Ruto openly exposed the widening rift between him and Rigathi? One saying, tanga tanga as much as you can, the other one saying, stick to your constituencies, stick to your jurisdictions.
Well, it was a clear message to the deputy president that the day of parting ways has come. The longer it stays in that particular office, is likely to face frustration to the extent that by the time he makes that decision, it will be too late to attract any crowd that will assist him make political sense out of his vision. It is very clear that I've told you before, President Ruto has good memory for bad things. He will not forget possibly why they have disagreed with Gachagua. I don't know. And I don't think many Kenyans know why they have parted ways or why they are disagreeing. Even President Uhuru and his deputy then, we don't know why they also parted ways. We just need to interrogate that. It may assist us so that we see how do we deal with the office of the deputy vis-a-vis that of the president, so that the two are able to perform for the period Kenyans have given them the mandate and ensure that we maximize their capacity to the betterment of the economy of this country. Sure. And it goes down also to the deputy governors in the 47 counties. I've been able to visit many of them and talk to the deputy governors. None of them is sitting pretty with this governor or our governor. It is something that is worrying, and it is something that we need to interrogate as a people, because the two offices are funded by the taxpayer, and they must work together in synchrony and also focus on the mandate they gave us, on the manifesto they gave us, instead of spending a lot of time feuding for no apparent reason. You know, even our arrangement in Trans Nzoia, the deputy governor is not seeing eye to eye with her boss, the governor, and many other counties. These are some of the things that we should see beyond William Ruto and Rigathi Gachagua. We should ask ourselves as Kenyans, how do we make them work together? Because it worries me, because the two are supposed to be like Siamese twins, tight at the hip for the period they were re-elected.
Very well. So then, to clear the air on that matter, do you consider the political divorce grounds for Rigathi and Ruto's political marriage are ripe enough? The divorce papers are ready?
I think they have divorced. It's only that they are sharing. They need to share now the property. They go together when they were consummated as president and deputy. Otherwise, I don't think there's no love lost between the two. Yeah. And unless somebody is coming out of, is coming away, let's say from abroad, or somebody has not been in Kenya. Otherwise, the two, to any ordinary citizen, you don't need to be discerning political analyst. You don't need to be a psychologist. The two are parted ways.
The writing is on the wall.
Very loud. And the bell is ringing.
The bell is ringing.
Yeah.
Very well. And talking about Rigathi Gachagua and his current woes in the political arena, we are seeing a trend, or rather a situation whereby anyone who does not support Rigathi Gachagua call for regional unity in Mount Kenya is considered or is cast to be fighting Rigathi Gachagua. Why are we seeing this being made a Gachagua issue? If you're not supporting the unit call, you're fighting him.
Well, that's the way politics is. There is nobody in between. And especially in Kenya, we are polarized in politics to the extent that there is nobody who is supposed to be reasonable. When you are reasonable, they say you are supporting our enemy. Otherwise, there is no middle ground when it comes to politics. You are either with me or with my opponent. Because if you are not with me, I have to fight you. Otherwise, in civilized societies and areas where democracy has matured, you can have also middle ground. That you say, I don't support the approach Gachagua is taking, but I also don't agree with the other side vilifying him. Otherwise, it is clear. How would you expect an MP attack the deputy president openly and almost calling names unless the president has given that approval? Because they say, if you see somebody's dog, the owner is around the corner.
Every barking dog has its owner.
Owner, around the corner.
Not far away.
Not far away. And if you beat that dog, the owner will appear with a gun.
Talking of which, we've seen a number of politicians allied to Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua. Case in point, Nyeri Governor Kega, who's drawn baton lights and saying he's gonna take a bullet for Gachagua or anyone who is out there to undermine Rigathi Gachagua, whom he refers to as their son. Would you then advise people like Kega to be careful in picking sides, or else they end up as collateral damage like it happened for Kipchumba Murkomen at the onset of President Ruto and then President Kenyatta's stiff?
Well, I don't know. I would advise that we need to improve our political hygiene. We need to improve our language. But you would see the governor is bitter, and rightly so. Because, you know, you cannot occupy a position and somebody does not allow you to be respected. And this is the difference between many of these presidents we've had and President Kibaki. When Kibaki made us ministers, for the 5 years I was a minister in Kibaki's government, any decision I took within the administration of the ministry, the president respected. In fact, even the positions, you know, for example, usually in the law, there are positions that people occupy through appointment of the minister. That is like CEOs of various institutions, board members, and directors. And there is a level where the president, by law, is supposed to appoint, like chairman of various parastatals in my former ministry, except one or two. And he would recommend that for this position of the chairman, give me 2 names. You give him 2 names with the CVs of those individuals, and you will pick one of them, which means effectively you are appointing the person. Because if I gave you a name and that of Ryan, and he appoints one of you, it is as good that I was given a chance to decide who becomes a chair of that institution. But today you realize that even some ministers are complaining that some board members who are supposed to be appointed by them have been appointed without their knowledge. This is something that we need to improve our political mannerism. We need to improve our political hygiene so that anybody occupying a small office is given a chance to perform within the capacity of that office.
Very well.
Yep.
We have seen the Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua accuse a section of Rift Valley politicians close to President Ruto of undermining him. And let me ask you this. If we look at the scenario that played out around 2007-2008, whereby Kikuyu community was pitted against the Kalenjin community and what came of it thereafter, do you think we are sort of treading on that slippery, dangerous ground whereby now the Mount Kenya community is somewhat starting to be pitted against the Kalenjin community?
It's dangerously so. I'm worried about it, and it is something that I would wish the two leaders realize that it is not useful for them to engage in any form of altercations. They should realize that they are servants of the people, courtesy of the mandate they were given in the last general election. They should not think they are more important than the nation of Kenya. It is important, whatever the differences, they're able to bury them or decide to part ways officially and constitutionally in a way that we do not destroy the social fabric of our society. Every community matters, big or small. And you cannot threaten communities like people from Mount Kenya living in Rift Valley, that if you don't toe the line, you shall see us. Because that's the language now being used. Even some of those individuals saying that they are preaching national unity. While they are at home, they're actually threatening certain communities. It is unfortunate. It is something that below our understanding of politics. We cannot be threatening Kenyans year in, year out. Remember the clashes of '92, clashes of 2007, and 2002, there were no clashes anywhere because it was two Kikuyus fighting for the presidency, Uhuru Kenyatta and Mwai Kibaki. Why do we make sure that every election we threaten certain communities in certain areas? It is backward. It is absurd. It is base. It is the worst thing that can happen to any country. And Kenyans, we don't seem to be running away from tribalism. I'm preaching to you not to be tribal, and yet the very action that I take is so tribal. Where is Kenya? Kenya is important as long as all of us are involved. You cannot put a section. And I don't know. At times it worries me when people think you can threaten communities and you call them in. Also, I would want to advise Rigathi Gachagua to look for friends outside the mountain.
Across the board?
Across the board. He does not have to run for presidency himself. He can cede that position to somebody from outside the community. After all, and he retains the position of deputy president for the next 5 years. Then they remove this government out of town.
On a rainy day, he could need friends outside Mount Kenya?
He will get enough friends. He needs enough friends. And he has enough of them. I'm not suggesting that I'm one of them, but if he allowed me to tell him the lineup that will win the next election, I would give it to him for free.
And you're ready to volunteer as his friend?
Well, his advisor.
As his advisor?
As his advisor, because I've been here much longer than him.
You don't want to be appointed a minister one more time?
Well, that depends on who is the president. Because you see, let me tell you, there is nothing as bad as sitting in a position that you feel frustrated. I would rather just be in the street like anybody else.
You would say no thank you to an appointment?
An appointment from somebody I don't trust as president? I'm not saying I don't trust Rigathi, but I don't think I would take his appointment. I'm not saying I don't trust him. I don't think I'll take his appointment. But if he's in a combination that is national and is somebody else leading the pack, I would want to be a minister.
It is said that presidents are God chosen, and when a president appoints you, it is the voice of God working through him. Why disobey that? And you are Christian, you know that.
No, I think that is sacrilege. To say president is God-given. Why do they steal elections? If you are calling God a thief, that he steals elections, and Chebukati makes a pronouncement in Bomas?
Your local pastor is watching you say that.
Well, the pastor should also realize he's under the same caveat that I am under.
He's not special.
He's not special. He's my pastor. I submit to that. But you cannot tell us that it's God-given for people to steal votes and say they have won.
Very lastly, on this conversation, what then do you make of the directive from DP Rigathi Gachagua that of he's asked Mount Kenya region to name and shame politicians who are against his unity talk? Do you consider that to be informed by deep wisdom for Rigathi Gachagua?
I think he could have paraphrased it differently. That's the only thing I can say. Yeah, he could have done it better by paraphrasing that statement, because, you know, shaming now is another threat, that if you are not with me, you are against the community. The way people in the Rift Valley, they are saying, okay, this guy is against us. And when he was campaigning for William Ruto, they didn't say that. They have realized now he's a Kikuyu. He was a Kikuyu even when he was campaigning. And really, why do we give certain connotations to the community that is the largest in the country, the most vibrant economically, and the most diverse in terms of extent to which they occupy the land? Why don't we realize that that is supposed to be something to embrace and appreciate?
Some consider that a threat that you want them to play second fiddle to the Kikuyu community.
I don't think so. It depends on the arrangement. You remember, President Kenyatta and the late Jaramogi started together very well, until some other guys came and made certain changes that even when Jaramogi wanted to go to the KPU, they amended the constitution to make sure that if you cross from one political party to the other, you have to resign your seat as a member of parliament to seek fresh mandate. And yet those who came from Kadu crossed the floor one afternoon without having to go through a by-election. These are some of the nuances that we feel we have what we call double speak. Whatever is obtaining today should obtain tomorrow. That's why Mheshimiwa Martha Karua reminded Kenyans the other day, I think about 10 or 15 years ago, that when you are making laws and you are in government, imagine how that law will apply to you when you are on the other side of the divide.
Looking at it with thoroughness and forethought.
Forthright, and also making it blindfolded. They say scales of justice must measure blindfolded. Not seeing this is Richard, this is Ryan. Yep.
Well, there you have it. That point by former Minister Kipruto Arap Kirwa takes us to the wrap of this conversation. We've discussed a plethora of issues in the world of politics and governance. We wait to see your feedback about the subjects of today. Let's keep this conversation going beyond here. I'm at Mwenja Richard on X and on TikTok. Find Waziri at Kirwa Official on X and on TikTok. We wait to see your feedback. And remember to tag this particular edition of the show so that by doing so, you get to be our fan of the week in the subsequent editions of Business Glide, the show that touches on matters public policy analysis, business, and economics. Thank you for honoring our invite, Mheshimiwa.
It's my pleasure. As always, it's my pleasure. It makes me feel strong that I'm still building our nation, the nation I love and I cherish.
What tidings, what good tidings did you bring for us from Kajiado?
Kajiado, there's a lot of livestock, but I did not have a pickup. I was using a saloon car. I would have brought you some piece of meat.
Even a jar of honey, you couldn't do that?
Oh?
A jar of honey?
What?
Perhaps you could have brought us honey from your farm.
No, I don't have honey in the farm. It's still a new outfit. Yes, but it has got potential for honey because of acacia trees. So I think we'll make that arrangement with you, and Ryan shall be able to assist us supervise the environment.
Well, asante sana. We say thank you so much for honoring the invite, and we wait to see you on the next edition.
Thank you. As time allows, I will always be there.
All right, asante sana. Keep tuned in to this channel and enjoy the rest of your viewing.